Welcome to Not Starving Artists, the podcast. I'm your host, Brooke Benson, money coach and equity actor. I am your financial cheerleader, here to help you build your financial confidence and have power over your money. The best part, no budgeting or bi-weekly paychecks required. I went from being a broke BFA grad having weekly panic attacks about money to a financially confident, wealth-building actor and business owner. Money gets to feel fun, simple, and sexy, and I am going to show you how. All right, y'all, welcome back to the podcast. I have a very special replay for you for this week's episode. This is a workshop that I hosted in partnership with my favorite business bank, Novo, and this workshop was about how to bust your biggest mindset block. So y'all have heard me talk about mindset before. If you're inside of Cashed Up Creatives, you have the mindset toolkit. You've heard me talk about journaling work. We did the 10-week money affirmation series about how to get really deep in affirmations to have them result in actual more money in your bank account. But this is something I haven't talked about before. So when I'm talking about how to bust your biggest mindset block in this workshop, I'm giving you the 3 biggest blocks that happen on a financial wellness journey. So on the road map to financial wellness, there are 3 main areas that tend to cause people to hit a wall. So in this workshop, I'm walking you through each of those 3 mindset blocks. I'm giving you the symptoms of each of them so that you know to diagnose yourself with one or the other to figure out where you're actually stuck. And then the antidotes, the things that you should be focusing on for each block to help bust your way through it so that you can continue to move forward in your financial wellness journey. There's also a little bit of Q&A at the end, such good questions. So enjoy. I can't wait to hear what you think. Hi, everyone. I am so excited to be here today. Our workshop today is about how to bust your biggest money mindset block. And I'm going to go through the training slides, but before we start getting into the actual content, I want to let you know a little bit about me and a little bit about what we're going to get into today. So again, my name is Brooke Benson. My company is called Not Starving Artists. I am a money coach, and I started out as a money coach specifically for freelancers and artists. I'm an actor myself. I actually just got back from doing a run of a play in upstate New York, so I am fresh off of the stage. So I do that alongside managing my money and teaching other people how to manage their money as well. So although that's how my company started, I actually realized as I continued to grow that there are so many other people out there in 9-to-5s who own their own businesses but don't necessarily call themselves a creative, or creatives who are outside of the field of performance art who didn't want a budget and wanted a more fun and less stressful way to manage money, and also needed a way to manage money with fluctuating income. So my business has now grown to support more than just self-proclaimed artists, but that's where my name came from, Not Starving Artists. So today what we are going to be talking about, we're going to be focused on the mindset and the emotional side of money. If you know me and you've seen my content before, you know that that is only half of what we talk about. I am equally balanced in teaching you about the mindset and the emotional side of money that keeps you stuck from taking action, and teaching you the practical action that you should be taking and need to be taking in order to boost your savings, have a retirement fund, pay yourself consistently, and feel really confident and safe within your money. We always are going to blend the two, right? We need to work on the stuff that's going in the brain to make sure you can actually take the action. And then you need to know the stuff that to actually take the action with, right? Like what bank accounts to have, how to organize your money, how to spend your money, how to know your numbers, how to be able to manage all of your money in less than 1 hour a month. All of those very practical things. So we're going to blend those two. But today we are focused specifically on the mindset arena. So I'm going to walk you through the 3 biggest mindset blocks, kind of on a roadmap to financial wellness, the 3 big spots that you can get stuck. So I am partnering with Novo for this education series. One of the reasons that I'm partnering with Novo is because I use Novo as my business banking platform. I think that they are a fantastic solution to being able to organize your money as a business owner without having to pay a lot of fees. And they have a reserve feature with which we'll talk about in the future. But why I'm telling you why I use Novo and why I've partnered with Novo is because part of the mindset stuff that we're going to talk about today is making money feel very simple and removing barriers of stress. One of those barriers of stress is, oh no, I got hit with an overdraft fee. Oh no, like I'm paying fees because I dropped below my minimum monthly amount that I have to keep in my business checking account for some reason. The barriers of entry of like not understanding how much is really in your savings. Like all of these things just tend to muddy and confuse money. And Novo is one of the platforms that helps make it really simple and easy to understand. So where we're going to go today. I'm going to start with a little bit more of an intro. Again, how I got to where I am today, going from a broke BFA grad to now being a business owner, being a working actor here in New York City. It is voting day today here in the city, which is very exciting. And I'm also now on track to be a multimillionaire in retirement, which little broke artist actor broke who just graduated college would never have been able to fathom. Then we're going to dive into what actually mindset work is, like not just the buzzword form of it that you see on Instagram or on TikTok, right? Like let's get into the nitty gritty of what it is and why it's actually important. And then the top 3 money mindset blocks, like I discussed, the symptoms of each money mindset block so that you can diagnose yourself. We can talk about which of those blocks are your biggest culprit. And then the antidotes, the fixes, how to actually bust through which one is your biggest block. And then I've got some client examples so you can see how that work happened in action. And then we'll talk about the 2 ways you can work with me. I talked earlier about cashed up creatives, and I also have one-on-one money mentorship. So I'll walk through both of those and what they entail. We'll talk a little bit more about Novo, and then we will have plenty of time for Q&A. Okay, so again, I'm Brooke, founder of Not Starving Artists. It's a financial wellness company helping creatives get their money shit together without budgeting or bi-weekly paychecks. If you have not heard me talk about why I don't fuck with budgeting, I encourage you to go to my podcast. It is called Not Starving Artists, the podcast. I have plenty of content about why I don't budget. I've actually done a webinar with Novo that is up on my podcast about why I don't budget. I don't have the link to that specific episode available to me right now, but it got posted in December. So if you go back through my podcast episodes in December, that was reposted. I'm on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube, so you can learn more about that. So I wanted to show some photos here because right here, this was when I lived in a literal trailer. So when I talk about financial wellness and when I talk about financial freedom, I'm talking about 2 different things. I'm talking about the practical money in my bank account, actually having money to support myself as an artist, and also feeling safe with my money as someone who lives on fluctuating income, as an actor, but then now as a business owner. The fluctuation didn't go away, right? I don't have a consistent paycheck. I never have. So what happened down here, right? This is my lovely partner. I love him to death. Our first place that we lived in together was a trailer. We did not have an apartment. We were living in a literal trailer. And I want to show that because right here, while I was living in this trailer, is when I decided that my financial reality was going to be different. When I busted through that very first money block, which we'll get to in a minute. So I didn't wait until I had a consistent paycheck, until I booked the big Broadway show, until I made 6 figures in my business to be able to start managing my money and thinking about it differently. And that is what led me to creating a business that now pays me a full-time living, that allowed me to be a working actor in New York City, where the contract I just got off of, it does not pay my bills, right? It paid me a very small amount, but I was able to take a very artistically fulfilling job because I created something to support me and I know how to manage my money really well. And now like I said before, on track to be a multimillionaire in retirement. And the most important thing is that I'm no longer having panic attacks about money. I'm a very anxiously bent person. And right as I graduated college, I was having like bi-weekly panic attacks about my finances. Even when I had money in savings, I was still panicked about money, which is also one of the money mindset blocks we're going to get to in a little bit. But one of the things that I was able to overcome is that even though my income still fluctuates, I no longer panic about being able to support myself and have safety around my finances. So let's talk about mindset work. What actually is money mindset work? Because it's not just sage and journaling about your feelings. I see so much like fun, froofy content on Pinterest, on Instagram, on TikTok of like, here's this journaling exercise, or like, here's these affirmations to bust through your money mindset, whatever. And it all just starts to sound like white noise. So let's get into it. Money mindset work is the thoughts you have about money and choosing thoughts about money that support you. Now, why does choosing your thoughts about money have any importance when like we just need to go and run the numbers in the spreadsheet and do the math of what's in the bank account and decide how much we need to charge for our services in order to equal X, Y, and Z and only spend this amount? It's because the thoughts in your brain about money are going to directly affect how you tactically use and manage your money. Okay. So what I mean by that is, if you feel unsafe with your money and you have a thought running through your brain of, oh no, I'm not going to make any sales next month, or oh no, this is a very common actor one, oh no, I'm never going to book another gig again. If you have that thought, I'm never going to get paid for my art again, I'm never going to sign another client again, or like, oh no, my income is dipping. What's going to happen is then practically you're going to start hoarding your money. This is just one of the manifestations of it. You might start to hoard your money and keep everything you can in your checking account because you don't believe or have the thought that more money is coming in. And so what happens is now all of your focus has turned into protection and keeping things in check and spending as little as possible, versus if you had a different thought in your brain of, my next client is right around the corner, I'm going to book the next job this month, or whatever it is. When you have that thought, instead of focusing on hoarding your money, your focus is on, how am I going to go out and get that next client? What do I need to do in my business in order to make more money next month? How am I going to go out and book that next job? Do I need to look? So do you see how it's subtle, but it affects your actions? So that's why we want to focus on money mindset work. Again, it's not just froofy stuff. I have a podcast series happening right now on the Not Starving Artist podcast. We are on week 8 of the series. It's called Unlock Abundance: How to Actually Make More Money in 2025 with Money Mindset Work. So it's about making affirmations real, right? Like taking those pretty Pinterest graphics and actually turning them into more money in your bank account. So I want to throw that out there. If you're interested in more of this work, I have a lot more on my podcast right now. We have 2 more weeks left of the series, so you've got lots to binge. So like I said, money mindset blocks are what keep you from taking practical action in your finances, or what keep you from actually enjoying what you've created financially. This is one of the blocks we'll talk about later, the third block, which is you've done the action. You've been able to push through your stress and your avoidance and whatever and do the things you have to do. But now you have the money in the bank account. You have the clients, you have the gigs, you have the money, but you're still constantly stressed and you're still waiting for the other shoe to drop, which means you've done all of that work for nothing. Because the point of wanting to make more money and have more freedom financially is so that you feel better. But if at the end of making more money and getting financial freedom, you still don't feel better, then we've lost the plot, right? So we have to make sure that when you get to that point, you are not stressed still. You're not always waiting for the other shoe to drop. So let's talk about the actual big 3 money mindset blocks that come up on a financial wellness journey. The first one is, I'll get to it later. This is the first, like if we think about financial wellness as a map, we've got like the beginning of your journey and the end of your journey. And I venture to say there isn't really an end of the journey, but for this example's sake, there is. So at the beginning, and you're wanting to have financial wellness, you are wanting to get your money shit together, there comes a point where you have to start doing the things differently. You have to start thinking about the things and doing the things differently. The first mindset block that you're going to run up into is, I'll get to it later. So you're still living the same kind of life. You're still thinking the same kinds of things, but there's an inkling in the back of your brain of like, okay, I should look into that new bank account. I should separate my business and personal finances. I should look at what I'm spending every month. I should look at my business expenses. I should start that retirement account. I should try and increase my contributions to that retirement account, whatever it is. And then you hit the first mindset block, which is I'll get to it later. Okay, so I'm going to talk more about those symptoms in a little bit. We'll go in depth into each of these three, but that's the first one. The second one is bucket. Also, I'm going to curse in this training. So just if you have children, just be aware. I'm not going to be able to help it. So this second block is bucket. And that means that you've now busted through the first mindset block, which is I'll get to it later. You have made the plan, you've learned the things, and you are going to take action on the things. So like, let's say you've created a spending plan, right? You've created a budget, which I don't recommend, but like, let's say you've created a budget or you've created a marketing plan in order to get more clients or whatever it is. But then when it actually comes time to implement it, stick to the plan, do the thing, goes out the window. Screw it. Doesn't matter. Current desires outweigh future desires. This is the second mindset block. So you have the plan, you're just not implementing it. Now, the third mindset block is the but what if block. And so what happens is, okay, you've gone through the avoidance, you've created the plan, you've decided what you need to do. You actually do it, you implement it, you see the results that you want to see. But then along comes the sneaky thought, but what if? But what if the stock market doesn't recover this time? But what if I never sign this big of a speaking engagement again? But what if I get a horribly rare disease and my health insurance won't cover it and I have to drain all my savings? But what if the economy goes down? What if? There's so many what if fill in the blanks that could be put in here. But then that's the third one. And this is what keeps you from actually enjoying what you've created and enjoying and feeling safe in the money that you have worked so hard on by busting through these first two mindset blocks, okay? So these are the three. Let's dive in deeper into what all of these actually are, symptoms of which your biggest one is, and then how to fix it. So first one, I'll get to it later. Here are some symptoms. I'll let you read these and then I'll go through them. First symptom is you have money tasks sitting on a to-do list for months. You have it in your notebook. You have it in a notes tab on your computer. My notes tabs are a mess. I have a million to-do lists in my notes tab. None of them are money related, but I've got a lot of to-do lists on my notes tab of like, oh, I need to do this. I need to create this plan, or like, here's how I'm finally going to get my life together, etc. Second thing is saved tabs, courses, and books that you've never opened. So you bought the money course, you got the book, you've been on the hold list on the library for that business book that's going to help you increase your revenue. You have a tab for an article or a calculator or something that you want to dive into later, but you never actually do it. But you flagged it, right? Because you've busted through that like first bit of inertia of you've decided that you want things to be different. You just haven't been able to bust through that avoidance of then actually reading it, right? To then be able to create the plans. And the third thing is thinking about money feels like lead in your body. So this is another symptom. If you think about sitting down and opening up your bank accounts, or sitting down and looking at your spending, sitting down and actually upping your contributions to your savings or your retirement, sitting down to actually run your profit and loss statement, sitting down to look at your taxes, right? What your tax liability is up to this point of the year in 2025. Like if any of that feels like in your body, that means you're probably hitting a block right here in this first arena, this I'll get to it later arena. Because if it feels like lead in your body, there's only so much willpower that's going to bust you through that. The thing about willpower is we cannot rely on it. Okay. And that's going to come into these first two mindset blocks, why we can't rely on willpower. So like if you hate thinking about opening your bank accounts, but you have one day where you have a surge of motivation, like we all have that one random Sunday every 2 months where we're like, it's a new day. It's a new life. We are going to get everything together, and you are click-clacking and you're doing the things. But then the next day, all of the stuff that you've been thinking, been doing comes right back, right? Because the willpower is gone. I was talking to one of my castmates on our contract over the past month, and we were talking about the spoons theory of like you only wake up with so many spoons, and once you're out of spoons, you've got nothing left to give, right? You're depleted, things become harder. And we were talking about this in the realm of chronic pain. Like if someone has chronic pain, you only wake up with 6 spoons that you're able to give during the day, while someone without chronic pain has 10 spoons. But even without chronic pain, if everyone wakes up with 10 spoons, if you have to use willpower to do something, you are giving away multiple spoons. And so if you have to rely on willpower over and over and over again, of course, you're going to get stuck in avoidance. And of course, you'll finally make the plan, and then you're going to get stuck in actually implementing it. Okay. So it's about creating methods and things that are going on in your brain in order to be able to not have to rely on willpower. Okay. So let's talk about the antidotes here. Financial CEO party, and I'm going to get to the dentist treasure chest thing in a moment here. A financial CEO party. This is a one time a month party with your money, date with your money. And I'm using that language very specifically because with money feeling like lead in your body or stacking up this huge amount of to-dos that you have to get done, none of it's going to feel fun and none of it's going to feel exciting. To bust through this first money mindset block, you have to give yourself something to actually look forward to. You have to give yourself a date, a party, make it something enjoyable that you actually look forward to. And you're not going to require too much of yourself. So this doesn't require daily checking and updating of a spending spreadsheet. This doesn't require a monthly sit down budget meeting or a weekly monthly budget sit down meeting where you have to assess where you went over in certain categories and No, this is one time a month and it's 1 hour. And I'm not going to go through the whole framework in here, but I walk you through the 4 steps of a financial CEO party inside of my course, Cashed Up Creatives. But I also have a podcast episode that gives you an overview. And actually, I run you through a financial CEO party real time, my financial CEO party inside of my podcast. So you can go back and look through that episode as well. But this is just 1 hour of time where you are looking at your money, looking at your spending, and setting up yourself for the month ahead. And then you don't have to worry about it for the rest of the month. So we're taking away this huge mountain of to-do list of things that you have to get done daily, weekly, etc. And party and date are used very specifically here because I want you to make it something fun that you don't want to avoid. And why I say this dentist treasure chest energy is because when we were younger and we had to go to the dentist or the doctor, at the end of that appointment, you got a lollipop. You got to go into that treasure chest and pick out a sticker. I can literally visualize. I have such a clear picture of the exit of my dentist office when I was in elementary school and what the treasure chest looked like. And it had a roll of stickers and I was so excited. I literally think that's why I still love the dentist to this day, even though I don't get a sticker anymore. But there's something so exciting about I'm going to do the hard and scary thing of going to the dentist and getting my teeth cleaned. And then I'm going to get my toy. We still have to do that. We're just children in adult bodies. So we still have to give ourselves something fun. So sometimes I'll take myself to a swanky hotel bar and get a nice cocktail while I do my CEO party with secure Wi-Fi, of course. Make sure you have your hotspot. Sometimes I'll do it in the bath. I might take myself to the park. I might even on a lazy day put on my PJs and go and blast my AC in my bedroom and sit in my bed and put on some jazz music and cozy up and do my money there. Because I need to make sure it's something that my body isn't going to immediately reject. Okay. So the second thing here is doing less to do more. And this is what I was alluding to earlier, which is removing this whole long to-do list of things you need to get done, doing less to do more. So for example, and this is part of my money flow method framework where I teach you how to manage your money without a budget. It's a cash flow system that I call the money flow method. And this is about doing less to do more, which is instead of focusing on all these different spending categories and tracking your money daily, et cetera, you're just going to give yourself one lump sum of money that you're going to put in a separate checking checking account to spend throughout the month. And all you have to do is check in on that balance as you go through the month. And that's it. And I'm going to tell you right now, I've heard from enough clients that feels so foreign and not enough and scary and makes it feel like it shouldn't be this simple. So removing all or nothing thinking, like this is going to feel worse in your body because you're not going to get that hit of dopamine of like, oh yeah, like I'm budgeting and like, yeah, I'm running all these numbers and I'm like doing all this stuff. It's like pulling back and doing less is actually going to have more benefit to you, but it's not going to give your ego that hit of like accomplishing this huge thing. So the last thing is getting clear on what's your why. So this is where some journaling work comes in. What's your why? It has to be stronger than because it's the responsible thing and I should be doing it. That's where most people get stuck, because right here in like the initial breaking through that initial inertia of not doing things with their money or needing to start a financial wellness journey is the thought of, okay, well, it's responsible. I have to because I should. That is just going to lead to guilt and shame. It's just going to become a beating stick for you, right? Rather than an actual motivator. So I want you to think about why. And I'm going to tell you my why. One of my strongest whys, if I'm ever feeling stuck in avoidance, is my family lives all across the country now. So my sister lives in LA and my parents now live in Florida and I live up here in New York. I am obsessed with my family. They are so dear to me. And so my big why is I need to make sure I can fly and see them whenever I want. My sister was in an all trans production of You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown. And I was able to book a last minute ticket to LA to go see her in that show. That is my why. That has nothing to do with my retirement account. That doesn't have anything to do with this like big, huge, heartfelt mission, although I do have that. But for whatever reason, that why, whenever I recenter on that, being able to go see my parents whenever I need to, whenever I want to, if I just want to take a last minute weekend trip, that right there puts me into action. It's like, yep, of course I'm going to sit down and do my CEO party. Of course I'm going to send out and, auto post my reels on Instagram this week. That is the biggest motivator. So I want you to think about what's your actual why, not just it's responsible and I should. I want to share this client example too. So this is Jane. She is an amazing fitness coach. Her company is called Movement and Mindset. If you want to hear her whole interview, she was a client of mine and we talked about her money journey, her business journey. This QR code will take you to that episode on Apple Podcasts, but it's also available on Spotify and YouTube. It's episode 59. Jane quadrupled her business revenue in 3 months. And I'm going to read this quote from her. She said, "I'm so happy I separated my business and personal finances before I even became an LLC because it made the transition so much easier. My new CPA even said, oh, you're very organized." And she now just feels so much more confident in her money. Why I'm saying this is because for Jane, one of her big things that we moved through is busting the mindset block of I'll save when. I'll work on this when I have more money, when my business takes off, etc. We worked on like, no, here's why it's important for you to do these things now, because in the future, it's going to make your transition so much easier. So she separated all of those things before her business started taking off. And then when she got this new CPA, when she was making all this new money, her CPA was like, oh, you've already done this? Good for you, like gold star. So it made her transition where she had to start making much higher level decisions and working through bigger business problems. She didn't have to worry about this like little money stuff because she had already navigated that. She had already busted through that block. So one of the things that she was able to do then is with practical knowledge of what was in her bank account, and because she knew how to save for taxes, because she was in the process of saving for taxes from when she was making a little bit of money, she now had this tax fund that she used in order to get her, rent a new studio for her business that then ended up quadrupling her business revenue. So she made a calculated risk because she had the cash available to her in order to grow her business. So you can go listen to that full episode there. You can scan that QR code. All right, the fuck it block. So here are some symptoms. This is when you've gotten past that inertia, you've created the plan, you've gotten really excited, you've decided your why, but then when actually like rubber hits the road, when you hit the pavement, the plan doesn't stick. So your plan on paper doesn't match what actually is happening in real life. You've made your money plan, but when you look at the bank account at the end of the month, it doesn't match. You have this I deserve it energy and needing to justify every purchase. When you feel like you have to justify your spending, that means that there's something in you that doesn't feel safe spending, that doesn't feel like you deserve spending, or it's guilt masked in self-preservation, right? Like, I deserve it, I need it, because that's the only reason you would be allowed to buy something. So that's another symptom. Another thing is, you know what to do, but in the moment you can't seem to do it, right? So if you've decided, oh, I want to eat out less and cook more, but you just keep eating out because every time you have to make the choice, you're always going to lean towards eating out. That means we've hit this like screw it block. And your current desires are always trumping your future ones. So everything that you want in the now, spending wise or time or energy expenditure wise, it's always going to veer towards now than it is towards the future. So here's some antidotes. I want you to create a want list. And what this is going to do is it's going to remove you from the place of having to tell yourself no. So a want list is just a running list of all the things that you get excited about spending money on. So this could be an Instagram ad. This could be something you see in a store. This could be your, everything that's in your Amazon cart. I keep mine in a list in my notes app. Of course, I have a million things in my notes app. And I also keep a running list in like my online shopping cart. And I just keep them there. So when I want it, I don't buy it. I put it on the list. And the things that go on that list have to stay on that list for at least 2 weeks before I'm allowed to buy them. So that's what I want you to start implementing. Because what this list does is it allows you to say, yes, I can have it. So you don't have to go into the like, I deserve it. No, I just want it kind of tantrum energy that comes when you are like telling yourself no, because we have to be responsible. It's saying, yes, we can of course have it, but you're going to pull yourself out of whatever the heightened emotion or thought place is that's happening, that's really driving the desire, because like 7 times out of 10, that's what it's going to be. The other thing here is that your future desires must feel as strong as your current ones. So you have to go and make that the case. That's not just going to happen. You have to sit down and decide why your future desires are equally as important and also feel like something in your body. Pinterest boards are one of my favorite tools for this. So creating Pinterest boards or collages, or even like you can do this in your journal with quotes if you're a visualization person, creating some sort of image or picture that makes you feel things in your body about your future life. So this is also one of the reasons why I love to follow incredible women who are like in their 60s and beyond, because I want to keep my mind tuned into what's the kind of life I want to live in my 60s, because that's who I'm doing it for. But I need to see women who are actually doing that so I can feel excited about it in my own body. Okay? Because that's the only way that we're going to start to change this, right? Future desires now trumping current desires, or at least balancing the scales a little bit more evenly. The other thing here is check to see if you're restricting yourself. So if you keep ending up in this screw it place, if this is the block you keep hitting, it might mean that you are requiring a level of spending or energy expenditure or willpower or whatever that is not sustainable. So I see this a lot when people start their financial wellness journey. They get so excited about their why and what they want their future to be. And they see, if I can just spend a little less, or even this much less, or this much less, then I could get there even that much faster. But what happens is then again, when the rubber meets the road, it's not actually a way you can live your life. It's like calorie restriction. Like, oh, if I eat 100 calories less or 300 calories less, I could lose weight even that much quicker. And again, this is like the dieting conditioning that of so many women specifically have been conditioned to take in. But that is why that gets really dangerous. So check to see if you are restricting yourself, if the plan you've created is actually sustainable. This is what I help my clients do in one-on-one and in my online course, is create plans that have a 100% success rate, because it isn't something that relies on willpower. It isn't something you can fall off the wagon of, because it's just such a normal way of living your life with intentionality that you can't mess it up. Okay, so I want to talk to you about Cameron. Cameron is an actor, director, creative extraordinaire living here in New York City. Cameron got 3 months ahead on bills. He said, stepping back and noticing this pattern of all in or not at all was really eye-opening for me across my financial and artistic life. I have so much more clarity with the money flow method and feel so much more organized in my money. So what Cameron began to do is he was catching himself in the moment. And at every one of our coaching calls, he would come on the call and talk about that week where he found himself going into the fuck it mode. So he would catch it and be like, here's the thought that came up. Here's the emotion that I was feeling. So going into each of those moments and deciding, right, like why it was happening, clocking it in the moment, and then creating a want list for himself, which he did, and then making his future desires, getting very clear on the artistic life he wanted in the future. These things were helping him to move towards putting money towards future him as well as supporting his current self, which is how he was able to get 3 months ahead on bills, right? So he has 3 months of buffer room now. Again, as an artist, as someone who's living here in New York City, he has that safety net because he busted through this second block. So third and final block for today is the but what if. Okay, here are some symptoms. This is that other shoe dropping feeling. The block that keeps you from enjoying what you've created after you've busted through the first two. First thing is you have a money plan. You've worked it. You've done it. It's creating money. It's putting money in your savings. It's helping you spend less so you can put more into retirement. It's helping you even spend more, but with a little more ease, but you still feel anxious. The other symptom is hoarding money. So you have money sitting in certain bank accounts. I see this with a lot of business owners, hoarding money in your business bank account and not paying yourself consistently or as much as you could, right? But because of the what if I need that money in my business, okay? Hoarding is also stacking your savings, but not having an end goal, not knowing when you're done, okay? The other thing is, this can be one of two ways, but putting a huge amount of money into your retirement account, but having no off ramp, right? Of just, we're going to keep contributing and contributing and contributing, but there's no plan of retirement in the future. Or the other side, I'm not going to put money into retirement because what if I need that money in my checking account, easily accessible to me, okay? The other symptom is you only feel good saving or making money, and that feeling only lasts about a day. So when you get to put money into your savings account, you feel amazing for 24 hours. When that client payment hits, you feel amazing for 24 hours. But every other time when you have to make a business investment, when you are like moving and have to refurnish an apartment, or when you're just like in that middle of the month, like week where no new money is coming in, because that's what happens for business owners, you feel stressed and you feel scared. The other thing is constantly running your numbers and checking your spreadsheet. If you're checking your spreadsheet or your numbers daily, that's a clue in that you're in this mindset block, the but what if. And the last thing here is optimization fixation. So I was actually talking to a client about this past week. When you get so fixated on optimizing, especially when it's the difference between with just like a teeny little bit of money, like, oh, if I move my savings from this savings account that's offering 3.3% interest to the one that's offering 3.45% interest, I should do that, right? And that minute amount of optimization, but the fixation of that minute amount means that you're in this but what if category, because you're not trusting money. You're not trusting that things are going to work out, right? It's I have to do every little thing or things aren't going to be okay. That's the but what if symptom. So antidotes for this: monthly financial CEO party, which we talked about in the first mindset block, but part of your monthly financial CEO party is doing a safety check. So if you're in this mindset block, you have money in your savings account. You have money coming in, right? You're not stressed in like the numbers. Like if we had an objective point of view on your numbers, you would be fine. What you're going to do during your CEO party is you're going to do that safety check with yourself. You're going to say, okay, I have this amount of money. I am this many months ahead on bills. Look at this money coming in. My monthly reoccurring revenue is X amount. You're going to run through the numbers and talk through to yourself what's happening in your money so that you can continue to confirm to yourself that I'm okay. And then I did a workshop about money mindset tools that I believe is on my YouTube channel that I did with Novo a few months back. And one of the tools is the fire drill, which is, okay, if I play with my brain and ask it, what's the worst case scenario that could happen? What would I do if that worst case scenario actually did come to pass? If you need to do that for yourself during your CEO party, if you're having a particularly anxious moment, to reaffirm like, I'm okay, I'm safe, I'm okay, I'm safe, do that. And then after your CEO party, you're going to move on. We're not going to keep checking the numbers. We're not going to keep running the spreadsheet. That's why you have your CEO party once a month, because things can't fall apart if you're checking your money once a month. But once a month also allows you the capability to release, like undo your white knuckles and just breathe into what you've set up with your money. Second thing is monthly joy purchases. You have to remind yourself that money is fun and money is safe by buying yourself things that are absolutely frivolous and don't support your like well-being or like your productivity or like, oh, I needed a pair of jeans anyway, so I'm going to get them and say like, yay, I bought myself a joy purchase. No, something frivolous and silly. This right here is one of my joy purchases. It's such a silly print and it makes me so happy to look at. These bookends, they're gold Frenchie bookends. This was a joy purchase. Frivolous and silly. But it reminds me when I spend my money one time a month on something like that, it brings that whimsy, that childlikeness back into my money life, which takes my brain off of the like, oh no, what if the numbers don't add up? What if something happens, right? We need to bring that whimsy back into your monthly money routine. Third thing is, what are you afraid of? Run the fire drill exercise, which I just mentioned, right? Take yourself to worst case scenario and then ask yourself, what would I do to pull myself out of it? Put yourself back in the driver's seat, the power seat. And then the last one is journal, baby. So even if you're not a pen and paper journaler, having some sort of routine where one of my favorites is taking myself on a walk and think, which is I have my AirPods in because I don't want to be spoken to on these streets of New York, but I have nothing playing and I take myself on a long walk and I ask myself questions and I'm basically talking to myself like I would be in my journal. And I'm asking myself, why am I feeling anxious? Okay, I'm saying I'm feeling anxious about this specific thing, but here's why that anxiety isn't valid, but the feeling is valid. So where's the feeling actually coming from? And I follow this trail of questioning to really figure out like, what's the root fear? And depending on different seasons of your life, that root fear might be different. So if you are here in this mindset block, that your most important work is to ask yourself where the feelings are actually coming from and what's the root fear. That's going to be your biggest work. Okay, so I want to talk to you about my client, Catherine. She took a sabbatical and moved to London. This is also, you can find her full interview episode where she talks about her whole journey and where she's at now. It is episode 55 of the Not Starving Artist podcast. This QR code, again, will take you to Apple, but it's available on Spotify and YouTube as well. She is a leadership coach. This is her sweet little cat baby. I'm pretty sure her cat makes an appearance in the YouTube episode of the YouTube version of this episode. So you should definitely watch it. She said, I'm significantly less anxious about my money, low to no money anxiety now, and I feel much more comfortable looking at my spending and have a monthly routine to do so. So for her, she had a lot of money that came from her past corporate life. And there was a lot of anxiety that accompanied the unknown and not being sure where she wanted to head in her post like corporate life career. And so for her, we were having to do like safety checks and fire drills all the time alongside organizing her money so that she knows she has 18 months of runway that she can just play around, move to London, take flying lessons, go on trips, find herself, decide that she wants to open her own leadership coaching business, which she is now doing. But we had to constantly run those fire drills and those safety checks in order to bust through this final block of you now have 18 months of time that you get to enjoy and play and discover. And what a waste to feel anxious the entire time. So she was able to find some of that ease in those 18 months, busting through this specific mindset block. So this is also a great episode that you can listen to. Don't be shocked when the same mindset blocks continue to come up. So if you get stuck on one specific block or there's one specific fear that keeps coming up in your journaling, that's normal. That makes sense. Because what happens in our brain, like our neural pathways like in literal brain scans, they continue, like they get worn and then they continue on. So even as you're shifting to a new thought, you're shifting into a new kind of money mindset. The neural pathway that's been created, your core fears, your core traumas, whatever they are, they're still going to live there, even though you're intentionally wearing a new neural pathway. So I'll give you, for me, for example, the starving artist energy, right? Like being a broke artist, I have such a worn pathway. That riverbed where that water flowed for so many years, she is a worn pathway. So even though I've got a new pathway over here, wealthy artist, I'm vibing, I've got ease, I've got my money shit together, I've got my own business, I'm my own boss, like I'm crushing it. I've got this whole neural pathway over here running, but this one's already worn. So of course I'm going to fall into the old neural pathway sometimes. Even on this most recent contract, there was someone in production who made a comment about all the actors being broke, and it hit me. The rage that I felt and the feelings that came up, I was like, oh, I've been there before, but that's interesting that that's coming up right now when I'm the most confident as a wealthy actor as I have been in all the years past. But still, because that's that worn neural pathway, of course it triggered me. Of course I had to do work to like bring myself back to center. So I just want you to know that that will continue to happen, and that's okay, because now you've created this new neural pathway where it's easy to bring yourself back over to the new one that you've created. So nothing's gone wrong if they keep coming up. The practice is continuing to take yourself into the new pathway. Okay, so I want to give you a couple of ways to work with me before we move into a little bit of Q&A. So I talked before about Cashed Up Creatives. This is my online course, which is all of the financial education that you were not given in college, as well as mindset. There's a whole mindset toolkit. There's a lot of mindset work paired with the money flow method, my 4-step anti-budget money strategy, the 4-step process to have your own monthly financial CEO party. And for the rest of the year, you get free monthly office hours with me. So that is a bonus just for this year only if you want to get that one-on-one time with me in this online course. So you can go to my website, notstarvingartist.com, and find the link to Cashed Up Creatives there. Also on my website, you'll find the link to my one-on-one money mentorship. So this is private coaching with me, one-on-one every single week. We have coaching calls. You also get access to the video curriculum that's inside of Cashed Up Creatives when you're a one-on-one client. This is helping you become the financial CEO of your life and your business. It's simple, practical money strategies, and it's deep transformational mindset work. So this is for the person who knows they need more accountability, the person who knows they need more nuance in their money plan, and the person who wants to go deep with that emotional stuff with someone else on the other side of the call. So again, all of those are at notstarvingartist.com. So let's talk about Novo a little bit. This is if you want to open an account with Novo. If you're not already a Novo customer, you can scan this QR code. No monthly fees and minimum balance fees, free invoicing tool. It's got a ton of integrations. It's got bookkeeping features. Novo Reserves are my favorite feature. It keeps all of your funds in the same account. So all of the account numbers are the same, which your accountant, or if you're doing your own taxes, will thank you for. And you can have up to 20 reserves. So you can have a reserve that is titled on deck buffer, 3 months ahead on bills, where you can put that money aside, where you can put money for a future business investment. This is where that organization stuff will actually help you reinforce the mindset, because you can look at your reserve that says 3 months ahead on bills and you can see it full, and you can tell yourself, hey, we're 3 months ahead on business expenses. Why are we freaking out that we're going to go broke next month and that everything's going to go to shit? Like, then you can have that conversation by looking at your reserves. This is why money organization is so important. So Novo's a great business banking platform for that. So again, here's the QR code. If you need it, I'll leave it up for one more minute. And let's dive into Q&A now.
Thank you so much, Brooke. That was fantastic. And I wanted to just open up the floor with about 5 minutes to the hour. If anyone wanted to go ahead and jump in, you can come onto camera and microphone as well if you'd like. I'll send you that invitation. But we'll be looking to the chat for any of your questions. If you'd like to go ahead and send them for Brooke now.
Yeah, I'm seeing Lauren's here. My current brain drama is I realize I'm afraid of my own potential and future success. It's easier to stay small rather than putting myself out there, earning more, having bigger expectations, and risk failing. I actually had a conversation about this with my sister. She was visiting New York this past week, and she has this brilliant, she has this brilliant brain about like game design. And she's going to start, she was telling me about her podcast idea and the things she wants to do with this game design brilliance that she has living in her head. And I was like, cool, like when's it starting? And she was like, oh, I have to do this. And like, I don't know, like kind of has this like runway of things she wants to do. And I was like, why don't you literally start that this month? And we started to have this conversation where it was a similar block of like, oh, like when I think about doing that now, when I actually think about doing the action, it scares me. Even though I know I'm brilliant and I have all this potential and things are so good, it's the fear of like, what if I fail? What if people watch me fail? What if it's not this perfect thing that's in my brain? What if I actually do have a lot of success? And that means that I'm not going to be the version of myself that I expected myself to be. That is 100% a what if block. I'm really glad you shared that, Lauren. That's such a common thing. I have had moments of that as well, different seasons of life where that has definitely come up for me.
My biggest question was more, you pointed to your case studies of how the antidotes to the symptoms worked for some of your clients. And I'm curious about how you determined the big three money mindset blocks. Like, were they things you were hearing repeatedly? Or are they like based on some of those like, essential financial management principles, but more like how they're actually lived? If you could just tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, that's a really great question. So how I came up with the three blocks is just working with individual clients. So I've worked with over 100 clients now at this point, and working individually with people over and over and over. Of course, everyone is nuanced and everyone is different, but these three places are the places I saw people continually get stuck. And as I worked with clients for multiple containers, so my one-on-one money mentorship containers are 3 months long. I have some people who come in, do it for 3 months, and then they bop out. They've gotten what they needed. And I also have clients who continue to re-sign package after package after package. And what I noticed is the clients who sign package after package after package will do the first package and bust through that first money mindset block and get their money flow set up. But then the second package, we're working on busting through that second money mindset block, right? Busting through that second one, getting them, managing their money. Now they're feeling good. Now they're seeing the money in the bank account, but anxiety is still there. So then we continue working together and we're busting through the third one. So it's not only seeing that thread across multiple different human beings who, again, are living very different lives, have very different careers, but these three things tended to just continue to come up no matter if you were an artist, if you had a 9 to 5, if you had your own business, if you were a woman, if you were a man, whatever. Type B brain, type A brain, whatever it is, these three kept popping up. And over the lifespan of a human being, as you're going through a financial wellness journey, I kept seeing the three pop up in the same human being on the same cadence in the same timeline. And also myself. That's what I witnessed with myself, right? Like these are the three blocks that I hit on my financial wellness journey. And now the one that continues to pop up for me in different seasons is that final one, the what if. Right? I'll have new fears that come up. I will hit a new level in business, or I'll hit a new accomplishment in my acting career. And all of a sudden, a new kind of version of my what if fear pops up, and I have to work through that again. So at some point, you'll usually just get stuck at that final one, different flavors of it. Yeah.
That makes perfect sense, that different elements could pop up and, will, because it's a journey. It's not like, and I'll avoid getting too deep into it, but I think about it almost like with chakra alignment, the way you're describing it, where it's like, we're not talking about stagnation. Like stagnation never happens, ideally.
Thank you, Stephanie. I love that chakra analogy. I might have to play with that one a little bit more because I think that's exactly it, right? We're never trying to like hit something and then stay there forever and ever. It's about how do you feel comfortable as they waver back and forth, but you're staying you're moving in and out of alignment at a higher frequency.
Thank you so much, Brooke. We could not do this without you.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. And thank you so much to everyone who is here today. And if you're watching the replay, this will be up on my YouTube and my podcast as well. I'm so excited that you all are tuning in. Thanks so much for tuning in. Come join me on Instagram for more on how to build a simple, sexy relationship with your money. My Instagram handle is @NotStarvingArtists. And if you want to dive deeper with me, head to the show notes to learn more about one-on-one coaching. If you love this episode, subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a friend that you want to get rich with.